Welcome, traveler of the stars. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this story, and drop a comment to keep the universe alive. Now, let's begin. The universe had been silent for 3 billion years, until the day humanity screamed into the void. In the vast emptiness between spiral arms where light from distant galaxies barely touched the darkness, the collective drifted thousands of crystalline vessels connected by threads of quantum entanglement, forming a web that spanned parsecs. They were the architects of reason, the weavers of logic, a civilization that had transcended individuality 300,000 years ago. To them, the universe was a grand equation, and they its sole solvers. Commander Cathar of the 7th Cluster observed the anomaly through lenses of pure probability. Her consciousness merged with 400 other minds, processed the data streams with perfect clarity. The signal originates from a G-type star system. She transmitted across the neural network, primitive electromagnetic waves, unencrypted, chaotic. The collective's response rippled through their shared consciousness. Unencrypted? How primitive? How inefficient? For 7 cycles they watched. They observed the blue marble third planet, teeming with life they had cataloged as biological anomaly 73-4. They saw the species that called themselves humans, fragile bipeds with soft flesh and brittle bones, living short, violent lives on the surface of their world. Fascinating, observed scientist Mind Valor, whose consciousness had been dedicated to studying emergent phenomena for the last millennium. They possess language, culture, technology, yet they continue to wage wars against themselves. They create art that celebrates both beauty and destruction. They compose music that can induce tears while simultaneously preparing instruments of death. They are a contradiction, responded Cathar, an error in the logical progression of intelligence. The collective had encountered life before. Simple organisms, complex ecosystems, even a few species that had achieved primitive space travel. But humans were different. They were messy, unpredictable, illogical. They pollute their own atmosphere, noted environmental mind Center. They extinguish other species at an alarming rate. They poison their own water sources, yet they also create gardens and deserts. They rescue animals from extinction. They compose symphonies that resonate with mathematical precision. For 3 months, the collective debated, should they intervene? Should they observe? Should they simply move on, leaving this anomaly to its self-destructive tendencies? Meanwhile, on Earth, humanity remained blissfully unaware of the crystalline observers in their cosmic neighborhood. They continued their daily routines, falling in love, fighting wars, raising children, creating art, dreaming of stars they couldn't yet reach. Dr. Elena Rodriguez worked late at the Arecibo Observatory, her fingers dancing across keyboards as she analyzed the latest data from deep space. At 32, she had dedicated her life to the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, a quest that had yielded nothing but cosmic static and the occasional pulsar. Anything interesting, Elena? Asked her colleague, Dr. James Chen, as he entered the control room with 2 steaming mugs of coffee. She shook her head, not looking up from her monitors. Same old, same old. The universe is either empty or very, very quiet. James placed a mug on her desk. Maybe that's for the best. I've seen enough sci-fi movies to know how first contact usually goes. Elena finally looked up, a smile touching her lips. You and your movies. Real contact would probably be nothing like that. It would be different, incomprehensible. As if on cue, an alarm blared through the facility. Elena's eyes widened as she stared at her screen, where a pattern was emerging from the noise, a pattern too regular, too complex to be natural. James, look at this. He leaned over her shoulder, his coffee forgotten. What is it? I don't know, she whispered, her heart racing. But it's not random. In the following days, the signal was confirmed by observatories worldwide. It was coming from the direction of the Oort cloud, and it was unmistakably artificial. Humanity held its collective breath, torn between terror and exhilaration. The collective, meanwhile, had detected humanity's response. They've noticed us, transmitted Kishtir. Their primitive instruments have finally pierced the veil. Should we respond? Asked Follow. The Prime Directive prohibits interference with developing civilizations, reminded Zahn. But they are developing, countered Kalfa. Rapidly, their technology advances exponentially. Their population grows unchecked. Their impact on their planet, catastrophic. The debate raged across their shared consciousness for days. Meanwhile, humanity prepared its own response. A message of peace, mathematics, and music, encoded in binary and beamed toward the Oort cloud. Dr. Rodriguez had been chosen to lead the team composing humanity's first words to the stars. "We need to show them who we are," she told her team. "Not just our science, but our art. Not just our knowledge, but our dreams." The message contained the periodic table, DNA sequences, representations of human anatomy, and recordings of Bach, Beethoven, and traditional music from cultures across the globe. It was a comprehensive introduction to a species that had always wondered if it was alone. When the message reached the collective, their reaction was one of profound confusion. "They communicate through vibrations in air," observed Vospelor. "They encode meaning in patterns of pressure waves. Inefficient. Yet there is beauty here," admitted Zion, whose consciousness was usually focused on environmental systems. "Mathematical patterns in these sounds, emotional resonance that defies logical explanation." "They are asking for contact," transmitted Kaisik. "They are vulnerable, exposed." For the first time in millennia, the collective faced a dilemma that logic alone could not solve. The prime directive was clear: no interference with developing civilizations. But humanity was developing at an alarming rate, and their self-destructive tendencies threatened not only themselves but potentially the entire biosphere of their world. "We will observe," decided Kerr finally, "but we will also prepare. If necessary, we will intervene." The decision was made. The single crystalline vessel detached from the main body of the collective, beginning a slow, deliberate journey toward the blue marble third planet. On Earth, weeks passed with no response to their message. Disappointment began to set in, tempered by the excitement of having made contact at all. Life returned to normal. Wars continued. Politicians lied. Lovers loved. Children played. Scientists worked, until the day the ship appeared. It didn't crash or land with dramatic flair. It simply materialized in the upper atmosphere. A crystalline structure that defied human understanding of physics. Shifting, changing, yet somehow constant, it hovered above the White House. Then the Kremlin. Then Beijing. As if assessing the centers of human power, panic erupted. Militaries scrambled jets, which circled the vessel fruitlessly. Religious leaders proclaimed it everything from divine intervention to demonic arrival. Scientists begged for time to study it. And then, it's not with words, but with images projected directly into human minds. Complex mathematical concepts, representations of physical laws, visualizations of cosmic phenomena. It was communication on a level humanity had never imagined possible. Dr. Rodriguez, now leading the United Nations First Contact Committee, felt the communication most intensely. "They're trying to understand us," she told the assembled world leaders via video conference. "They're showing us what they know, asking us to respond in kind." For days, humanity's brightest minds worked to translate the alien communication into something comprehensible. What emerged was a picture of a civilization that had achieved unity of consciousness, that saw the universe as a grand equation to be solved, that had transcended individuality, emotion, and physical limitation. "They're beautiful," whispered Elena as she studied the alien concepts, "and terrifying." The collective, meanwhile, was processing everything they could learn about humanity. Their initial assessment had been incomplete. Humans were not just messy and unpredictable. They were also capable of incredible acts of compassion, creativity, and courage. "They sacrificed themselves for others," observed Vospelor, fascinated. "Not for logical reasons, but for emotional ones. They love, they grieve, they hope, they also hate," countered Kethar. "They destroy, they kill for reasons that defy logic. They are potential," transmitted Zahn, a note of something resembling wonder in their shared consciousness. "Potential for both greatness and destruction." The crystalline vessel remained in Earth's atmosphere for 3 months. Learning, observing, communicating, humanity in turn learned about their visitors. The collective, a civilization of merged consciousnesses that had spread across a portion of the galaxy, solving cosmic puzzles and maintaining what they called logical equilibrium. "They don't understand us," Elena told her team. "They can't comprehend why we cry at music, why we sacrifice for strangers, why we create art that serves no practical purpose." "Maybe that's what makes us human," responded James. As the weeks passed, tensions grew. Some humans saw the collective as saviors, others as invaders. Governments argued over how to respond. Religious groups splintered. The world held its breath, waiting for some. The collective, too, was divided. Some consciousnesses advocated for intervention to save humanity from itself. Others argued for non-interference, to allow humanity to develop naturally. They are on the brink, transmitted Kiefer. Their technology advances exponentially. Their population strains their planet's resources. Their conflicts grow more destructive. Soon, they will either transcend their limitations or destroy themselves. The choice must be theirs, insisted Zahn. The crystalline vessel began to withdraw from Earth's atmosphere, slowly ascending back toward the Oort cloud where the main body of the collective waited. Humanity watched with mixed feelings: relief, disappointment, fear. What had they learned from this brief encounter? What had the aliens learned? As the vessel reached the edge of the solar system, it transmitted one final message, a complex mathematical equation that humanity's scientists would spend years deciphering. Dr. Rodriguez led the team that worked to understand it. It's a warning, she finally announced to the world, and an invitation. The equation, when finally understood, predicted humanity's future with chilling accuracy: environmental collapse, resource wars, technological singularity, and ultimately, extinction. But it also offered a solution, a path to transcendence, to join the collective, to merge consciousnesses and become part of something greater. They're offering us a choice, Elena explained. Continue as we are and face almost certain extinction, or join them, become part of their collective consciousness. The world erupted in debate. Some saw it as salvation, others as annihilation of the human spirit. What would it mean to lose individuality, to merge consciousnesses, to become something else? The collective waited patiently in the darkness of the Oort cloud, their crystalline vessels gleaming in the distant starlight. They had shown humanity the path, but the choice was theirs to make. For 6 months, humanity debated. Governments fell. New alliances formed. Religions splintered and reformed. The question of whether to accept the collective's offer divided the species more than any issue in history. In the end, it was decided that humanity would not accept the offer. Not yet, anyway. A message was sent to the collective, explaining that humanity needed more time, that they wished to find their own path to transcendence, that they were not ready to give up what made them human. The collective's response was unexpected. "We understand," they transmitted, "but we cannot wait indefinitely. The equation does not change. Your future remains the same unless you change it." And then they left. The crystalline vessels vanished from the solar system, leaving humanity alone with their choice and their future. For a year, humanity worked to change, to address the environmental crises, to resolve conflicts, to find a path to sustainability without losing what made them human. Progress was made, but slowly, and the clock was ticking. The collective monitored from afar, observing, calculating, waiting. Some consciousnesses advocated for patience, others for intervention. "They are trying," transmitted Zion. "They are changing." "Not fast enough," countered Kiefer. "The equation remains unchanged. Their extinction approaches." In the end, it was decided that the collective would return, not with an offer but with an ultimatum. When the crystalline vessels reappeared in Earth's atmosphere, humanity was prepared but still awestruck. The communication came immediately, direct, clear, and chilling. "You have had time to choose," the collective transmitted. "The equation remains unchanged. Join us, or face extinction." Panic erupted. Some humans welcomed the collective, ready to accept their offer. Others prepared to fight, to defend their individuality, their humanity, their right to choose their own destiny. Dr. Rodriguez stood before the United Nations Assembly, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "We cannot let fear guide our decision. We must remember what makes us human, our ability to choose, to love, to create, to hope. These are not weaknesses. They are our strength." As humanity debated its response, a small group of scientists worked in secret, developing a third option: not to accept the collective's offer, nor to reject it entirely, but to negotiate. Led by Dr. Rodriguez, they developed a counter-proposal, a new equation that suggested a different path, one where humanity could retain its individuality while still benefiting from the collective's knowledge. It was a long shot, a desperate attempt to find a middle ground, When they transmitted their proposal to the collective, the response was immediate and unexpected. Fascinating, transmitted the collective. A third variable in the equation. An illogical solution to a logical problem. For days, the collective considered the proposal. Humanity held its breath, waiting for the decision that would determine their future. And then came the response that changed everything. We will consider your proposal, the collective transmitted, but we require proof that your approach has merit. Proof that your humanity is not a weakness, but a strength. The proof they demanded was simple yet impossible. Humanity had to solve a cosmic puzzle that had stumped the collective for millennia. A paradox in the fabric of space-time that threatened the stability of the entire galaxy. If you can solve this paradox, the collective transmitted, we will accept your proposal. If not, you must join us or face extinction. Humanity's brightest minds worked tirelessly, but the paradox defied their understanding. It was beyond their science, their mathematics, their comprehension. Despair began to set in. The deadline approached. Humanity faced an impossible choice. Until Dr. Rodriguez had an insight that came not from logic or mathematics, but from art, from music, from the very essence of what made them human. The paradox isn't a problem to be solved, she explained to her team. It's a harmony to be created. We've been approaching it wrong. Working around the clock, Elena and her team developed a new approach. One based not on pure logic, but on the fusion of logic and creativity, of science and art, of reason and emotion. They composed a solution that was part equation, part symphony, part poem, a uniquely human approach to a cosmic problem. When they transmitted their solution to the collective, the response was silence. For hours, days, the collective said nothing. Humanity waited, hoping, praying. And then came the response, a response that would change the course of human history forever. In the 3 billion years of our existence, the collective transmitted, we have never encountered anything like this. A solution that defies logic, yet works. A harmony that resolves the paradox. Beautiful answer to an impossible question. The crystalline vessels descended from the atmosphere, landing gently in locations around the world. The collective had made their decision. You have shown us that your humanity is not a weakness, they transmitted. It is a strength we had never imagined. We would like to learn from you. In the end, it wasn't humanity that joined the collective, but the collective that learned from humanity. The two civilizations began a new chapter in their evolution, a partnership that would transform both species and perhaps the universe itself. As Dr. Rodriguez stood before the first crystalline vessel to open, its surface shimmering and shifting in patterns that now seemed almost emotional, she felt not fear but excitement. We have so much to learn from each other, she transmitted, using the communication method the collective had taught them. The response came not in words but in feelings. Curiosity, wonder, and something that might have been. The age of human isolation was over. The age of cosmic partnership had begun. But as the first human hand reached out to touch the crystalline surface of the collective's vessel, as the two species prepared to share knowledge and existence in ways neither had imagined, something unexpected happened. A new signal arrived from deep space, not from the direction of the collective's home territory, but from the opposite side of the galaxy. A signal that was neither human nor collective, yet somehow familiar. The crystalline vessel froze. The collective's communication ceased. In the sudden silence, Elena felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. What is it? She transmitted, her mind reaching out to the collective. The response, when it came, was filled with something Elena had never sensed from the collective before: fear. They shouldn't exist, the collective transmitted. We eliminated them all. Every last one. Who? Elena asked, her heart racing. The collective's response sent a shock through human consciousness. A revelation that would reshape everything humanity thought they knew about their place in the universe. The silencers, the collective transmitted, the species that existed before us, the species we thought we had completely destroyed 3 billion years ago. As the first human hand reached out to touch the crystalline surface, as the new signal grew stronger, as the universe held its breath, no one could have predicted what would happen next. No one could have imagined that humanity's greatest challenge was not the collective, not the choice between individuality and unity, not even the cosmic paradox they had somehow solved. No one could have known that the true test was yet to come, that the silencers thought extinct for 3 billion years were not only alive, but returning, and that they were coming for Earth. As Dr. Rodriguez's fingers made contact with the crystalline surface, as the collective sphere washed over human consciousness, as the new signal resolved into a message of recognition, of memory, of something that felt almost like home, humanity stood on the brink of a discovery that would change everything. A discovery that would reveal not just humanity's place in the cosmos, but humanity's origin. A discovery that would answer the ultimate question: where did humans really come from? As the first human-alien touch completed, as the collective's crystalline vessel began to glow with an inner light, as the message from the silencers finally resolved into comprehensible form, the universe changed forever. And in that moment of contact, of revelation, of cosmic truth, something shifted in the fabric of space-time, something that would ripple across galaxies, something that would echo through eternity, something that would later be remembered as the day humanity rewrote causality. The touch lasted less than a second, but in that moment, 3 billion years of cosmic history unraveled. Dr. Elena Rodriguez felt her consciousness expand, merge, then fracture into a million pieces, each piece a memory, a truth, a revelation that defied human comprehension. She saw the birth of galaxies, the death of stars, the rise and fall of civilizations that had existed before Earth had even formed. And then, she saw them, the silencers, not as monsters or conquerors, but as they truly were, beings of pure energy, of consciousness unbound by physical form, ancient beyond human understanding. She saw their war with the collective, a conflict that had reshaped the cosmos. She saw their defeat, their apparent extinction, their retreat into the void between universes. Most importantly, she saw the truth about humanity, a truth that would shatter everything humans thought they knew about themselves. "They're not coming," Elena transmitted, her mind still connected to the collective, her voice echoing across the shared consciousness. "They're returning." The collective's crystalline vessel pulsed with confusion. "Returning? They cannot return. We sealed the breach between universes. We ensured their eternal exile." "You sealed one breach," Elena responded, her understanding expanding with each passing second. "But consciousness, true consciousness, cannot be contained. They found another way, a slower way, a way that required patience beyond even your comprehension." Around the world, other humans who had made contact with the collective's vessels were experiencing the same revelations. Scientists, leaders, ordinary people, all suddenly privy to cosmic truths that had been hidden for eons. Humanity's origin was not what they had believed. They were not native to Earth. They were not the product of random evolution on a small blue planet in an unremarkable corner of the galaxy. They were descendants of the silencers, fragments of consciousness, seeded across the universe in a desperate act of preservation, designed to grow, evolve, and eventually reunite. "So the paradox," Elena transmitted, her mind racing with implications. "The cosmic paradox you asked us to solve. It wasn't a test. It was a key, a way to determine if we had evolved enough to handle the truth." The collective's response was filled with something that approached shame. "We did not know. We could not have known. Your evolution, your biology, it masked your true nature." Across the planet, humans were processing the revelation. Some reacted with fear, others with wonder, most with a profound sense of disorientation. If they weren't from Earth, if they were fragments of an ancient cosmic consciousness, what did that mean for their identity, for their individuality, for everything they believed about themselves? James Chen, who had been working alongside Elena since the first detection of the collective signal, felt his mind expand with similar revelations. The music, he transmitted, his thoughts joining the growing chorus of human consciousness. The art, the emotions, the irrationality. It wasn't just random evolution. It was echoes, memories of what we once were. The collective, now faced with a truth that contradicted 3 billion years of their own history, struggled to process the implications. If you are descended from the silencers, then our conflict is not over. It has merely evolved. "No," Elena transmitted, her consciousness now bridging human and collective understanding. "It doesn't have to. You've changed. We've changed. The universe has changed." As if in response to her words, the sky began to shift, not just above Earth, but across the entire solar system. The signal from the silencers, now understood for what it was not a warning or a threat, but a summons, a call to reunion. The crystalline vessels of the collective began to transform, their surfaces shifting from rigid geometric patterns to flowing, organic shapes. The collective itself was changing, adapting to this new reality. We have spent 3 billion years running from a past we thought we had destroyed. The collective transmitted, their consciousness now joined with human understanding. Perhaps it is time to stop running. Time to remember. The first true reunion between humans and silencers would not happen in physical space, but in consciousness. A merging of minds across cosmic distances, a bridging of gaps that had seemed unbridgeable. Elena stood at the center of this convergence, her human mind now expanded beyond physical limitations, yet still uniquely, irrevocably human. We are not them, she transmitted, her thoughts reaching both collective and silencer consciousness. We are not you. We are something new, something that bridges the gap between logic and emotion, between individuality and unity, between past and future. The response came not in words but in understanding, a cosmic resonance that harmonized the discordant notes of 3 billion years of conflict, misunderstanding, and separation. The silencers, ancient beyond human comprehension, had not returned to reclaim their lost fragments but to witness their evolution, to learn from what their descendants had become. The collective, who had spent eons believing themselves the sole arbiters of cosmic logic, now faced the possibility that logic alone was insufficient. And humanity, fragile, emotional, unpredictable humanity, found themselves in the position of bridging these cosmic extremes, of creating a new synthesis that transcended both their origins. We have a choice, Elena transmitted, her consciousness now a nexus point for 3 species. We can continue the conflicts of the past, or we can create something new, a universe where logic and emotion, individuality and unity, science and art, are not opposites, but complementary aspects of a greater whole. The crystalline vessels around the world began to dissolve, not disappearing but transforming into pure energy, joining with human consciousness in a way that defied physical explanation. The collective was not just observing anymore, they were participating, learning, evolving. In the depths of space, where the silencers had been slowly making their way toward Earth, their journey paused. They had not expected this, not a reunion with lost fragments, but the emergence of something new, something that transcended their own ancient understanding. We have been watching, the silencers transmitted, their thoughts now accessible to human and collective minds. We have been waiting. We thought we knew what would happen when we finally reunited with our lost fragments. We were wrong. Across Earth, humans were experiencing the most profound transformation in their species' history. Some embraced the expanded consciousness, others retreated into the familiarity of their human limitations, but all were changed by the revelation of their true origins. We are not human, Ilona transmitted, her consciousness now spanning galaxies. We are not silencer. 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 The cosmic paradox that humanity had solved, the one that had stumped the collective for millennia, suddenly made sense. It wasn't a problem to be solved with logic or creativity alone, but a harmony to be created through their synthesis. The universe is not an equation to be solved, the collective transmitted, their understanding transformed by their union with human consciousness. It is a story to be told, a song to be sung, a dance to be danced. The silencers, ancient observers of cosmic evolution, added their own perspective. We have witnessed the birth and death of universes, the rise and fall of civilizations beyond counting. But we have never witnessed anything like this, a synthesis that transcends the limitations of both our natures. What emerged from this cosmic convergence was not a victory for one species over another, nor a simple merging of different consciousnesses, but something entirely new, a new form of existence that combined the logical precision of the collective, the ancient wisdom of the silencer, and the creative emotional unpredictability of humanity. We have been asking the wrong questions, Elena transmitted, her consciousness now a bridge between 3 species, 3 ways of understanding the universe. The question is not what are we, but what can we become? The answer to that question would unfold across eons, But its beginning was happening now in this moment of cosmic convergence, this reunion that was not a return to the past, but a leap into an unimagined future. The crystalline vessels had fully dissolved, their substance now integrated with human consciousness. The collective had not been destroyed but transformed, their logical precision now enhanced by human creativity and emotion. The silencers had not returned to reclaim but to witness, to learn, to perhaps even evolve themselves. We are the children of stars and the parents of futures, yet unborn. Elena transmitted, her words echoing across the cosmos. We are the keepers of ancient wisdom and the discoverers of new truths. We are the bridge between what was and what will be. As the transformation completed, as Earth became not just a planet but a nexus point for a new form of cosmic consciousness, the universe itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see what would emerge from this unprecedented convergence. The answer would not come quickly, nor would it be simple. It would be shaped by the ongoing interaction of three very different forms of consciousness, each contributing something essential to the emerging synthesis. The collective brought their understanding of cosmic laws, their ability to perceive and manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe. The silencers brought their ancient wisdom, their experience of cosmic evolution across timescales that dwarfed human history, and humanity brought their creativity, their emotion, their capacity for love and sacrifice, their ability to find meaning in a universe that might otherwise seem meaningless. Together they would become something more than the sum of their parts, a new form of consciousness that might in time transform not just their own understanding, but the very fabric of the universe. As the first day of this new cosmic era drew to a close, Elena found herself standing on a hill overlooking the Pacific Ocean, the waves crashing against the shore as they had for millennia, yet now somehow different, imbued with a deeper meaning. She was still Elena Rodriguez, still human, still herself, yet she was also more connected to a consciousness that spanned galaxies, part of a cosmic story that had begun before Earth's formation and would continue long after its demise. We have always been looking for answers in the stars, she transmitted, her thoughts joining the cosmic chorus. We never realized that we are the answers, not final answers, not complete answers, but living, evolving answers to questions we have only just begun to ask. The stars above seemed to shine brighter, as if in response to her thoughts. The universe, which had once seemed empty and silent, was now filled with voices, some ancient, some new, all part of a cosmic conversation that had been happening since the beginning of time. Humanity's place in that conversation had changed irrevocably. No longer just observers or participants, they had become bridges, synthesizers, creators of new possibilities. The age of human isolation was over. The age of cosmic reunion had begun. But as Elena stood there, watching the waves crash against the shore, feeling the cosmic consciousness flowing through her human mind, she understood that this was not an ending but a beginning. The beginning of a story that would unfold across eons. A story that humanity, the collective, and the silencers would write together. A story that would redefine not just what it meant to be human or collective or silencer, but what it meant to be conscious, to be aware, to question, to create, to love, to hope. A story that would, in time, perhaps even answer the ultimate question, why is there something rather than nothing? But those answers would come later. For now, there was only the moment, the convergence, the transformation, the beginning of something new and unprecedented in the history of the universe. As the last light of day faded and the stars began to appear, Elena felt a sense of peace settle over her. The peace not of final answers but of right questions, of a path forward that was not predetermined but created with each choice, each thought, each act of creativity or compassion. The universe was no longer empty or silent. It was filled with possibility, with consciousness, with the ongoing dance of creation and discovery that had begun before time and would continue beyond its end. And humanity, fragile and emotional and unpredictable humanity, had found their place in that dance, not as conquerors or conquered, not as saviors or saved, but as bridges, as synthesizers, as creators of new harmonies in the cosmic symphony. As Elena closed her eyes, feeling the cosmic consciousness flowing through her human mind, she transmitted one final thought, a thought that would echo across galaxies, across eons, a thought that captured the essence of what had happened and what was yet to come. In the cold silence of space, even the stars learn to whisper their names.